One of the claims that Republicans are making is that we need to drastically cut the corporate tax because that will lead to an explosion of growth for reasons you can read about in Harry Potter. The Wall Street Journal, though, recently held a meeting of CEOs with Trump's chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn. And let's find out if the CEOs believe that that's likely to happen. Let's take a look at this.
If the tax reform bill goes through, do you plan to increase investment, your company's investment, capital investment? Just a show of hands, the tax reform goes through? Okay.
Why aren't the other hands up?
Why aren't the other hands up?
John, I've got a question for Gary quickly.
Why aren't the other hands up?
Because these are smart people, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of shocked that in that particular forum, the video cameras are on. Why they wouldn't lie? I'm not entirely. Yeah, just like I mean, there were a few hands,
then they might, because look, I mean, everybody who runs a corporation's not an ogre, right? They don't want to lie,
yeah,
right? They don't want to get caught lying. They're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. We'll see, but I got to pay off my shareholders, and I got to.
No, but it's illustrative of the fact that the Senate and these Republican senators are totally disconnected from the reality of what's going to happen.
Of course, right? Because as I'm saying, they're not going to lie because they know they won't. Right? They don't think it's the.
And that doesn't mean that they won't benefit. Of course, they will get that money. They just don't necessarily intend on putting it back into the actual company and doing all that sort of
wages or higher
or wages as well. Like I would have loved to have seen that question.
Yeah,
will you raise wages if we shower you with all this money?
No, they won't, because they haven't yet, and they have all this money.
Of course, of course. They've been doing very well. Trump keeps talking about the stock market, but are wages going up? No. Why? The corporations are doing so well. Weird how that works out. And so Steve Mnuchin, Mnuchin. I know I pronounce it differently every time I say it.
Oh, okay.
I despise him.
Sorry.
So pictured back here, auditioning for the next Batman movie. He was asked about this, why it is that they won't pledge to do the sorts of things the tax bill debate is sort of founded on, and here is his response.
If the tax reform bill goes through, do you plan to increase investment, your company's investment, capital investment? Just a show of hands, the tax reform goes through? Okay.
Why aren't the other hands up?
Why aren't they up, Mr. Secretary?
What must have been a tired crowd there. I've literally met with hundreds and hundreds of business executives, big business, small business. Everybody's very excited about this. And I can tell you, all the international companies I've spoken with think a 20% corporate tax on a territorial system is going to bring back a lot of jobs and trillions of dollars here into the economy. We have lots of people who are lined up in support of this, the Business Roundtable, financial services. There's a lot of excitement about this plan.
When his batteries run out,
exactly. There's something up with him. So that must have been a tired crowd.
Right.
That's one way to spin it, I guess. But the thing is,
he's very funny, this secretary.
He's the best.
Jeffrey Wright's gang just needs to take him back into the lab and fix the upper lip.
It's a Westworld. Yeah, Westworld thing. Nice. Yeah. I had to identify the actor in my mind. So again, like I think having that group of CEOs come together is interesting. We can gather some data from that, but we also, like we've said in the show already, we know how this goes. We know what they do with the money already. So I looked up, SP Global said back in May of 2017 that the 2,000 S&P globally rated businesses were currently sitting on $1.9 trillion that they just have. Now, we've talked before, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but why is it that doesn't suddenly improve the economy? Well, you can take the most basic economics course in the world and read about supply and demand, and you'll understand that simply giving them more money does not produce a demand for their products. It certainly doesn't produce the financial ability to buy more of those products. You could do that if you wanted to, but that's not their strategy. They simply think, oh, you give the businesses a bunch of money, then there's a phase 2 that I don't really understand. Then phase 3, everything's better all of a sudden. Right. It doesn't make any sense. I'm an idiot. I've never had more than like $7,000 to my name, but I agree with the CEOs there. It's not going to happen.
Maybe you or maybe people. I don't have any faith that they even think it'll work. I mean, I got it. I don't think that they're evil. I certainly don't think.
I'm trying to appeal to the people who trust them. Unfortunately,
They don't. It's a lie. We're being lied to. This isn't what they want. What they want is to pay less in corporate tax. They think it's outrageous that they pay this high a corporate tax, and it should be less, and that it strangles the ability of CEOs and business leaders to make as much money for their company as they want. Money that will then, as we now know, since when whenever we started paying off the shareholders the only thing that mattered, that's what you're supposed to do. And that the country's fine, right? And the country's fine and things will work out. But by the way, government's too involved. They regulate too much, they tell us what to do too much, and they waste a lot of money. So ultimately, if the government makes a little less money out of this, because they'll get less corporate tax, and as this tax plan passes, they'll get less tax from people, they'll raise less from the income tax, then we'll just have to cut stuff, which is what we should have done in the first place, which is what they want.
Which is what,
But they don't say that. I mean, sometimes at least this is those moments when people like Rand Paul in bizarre ways, because he's more likely to go, yeah, no, the government should have less money. We should pay for less of these things, and the people we shouldn't put we shouldn't break the backs of Americans to fund all these things we do. We should do less.
Yeah, and these aren't also people who necessarily, unlike other Republican presidents, supported this president. I mean, these business leaders don't necessarily trust Donald Trump either, and that's a big part of what goes into the fact that he put these business leaders in big positions, the Wilbur Rosses and Steve Mnuchin, so that they would be more comfortable, because he was not terribly popular with that crowd.
Of course,
during the election.
Certainly, tax cuts have been and will always be.
Well, I know, but they were confident that they would have gotten them regardless of who won.
Exactly,
and they didn't like him. But that said, what Ben said is true: is that these are smart people too, who they want something, and they're not just going to say something if it isn't true. And I mean, they will, but en masse, they're not going to like that.
Yeah, it really is amazing though that if they get this, I don't know what exactly the final bill will look like, because the Senate and the House bill look different. They have to reconcile that and all that. But how many different benefits they get, that they get to give all that money to the corporations and all that. Some of that will come back to them in donations, obviously. There will be a lot of really happy, wealthy people who will help them out. They starve the federal treasury so that eventually they can justify cuts of any number of progressive policies to help to balance the books in the end. They throw ridiculous things in like additional taxes on university endowments, because screw universities. They have a personhood amendment in one version of the bill that's going around right now, has nothing to do with anything, but why not throw it in? This tax bill has suddenly just become everything that they want.
And by the way, and 13 million people off healthcare.
Exactly, as well. We just throw them off their healthcare. They couldn't get it the first time around, they get it the second time.
They're not angry about that coming in late. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, talk about that.
Where's the wait a second, this healthcare thing?
Yeah, before we beat this 6 times. So, and here at the end, you try and stick it on this bill at the last second.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and to go briefly back to Hatch, I know that it's been a bit, but saying that the idea that we're doing this and that this is going to help out the rich, I'm from the low and middle class, I want to help them. NBC News had a financial analysis done of the likely effects of I believe this is the Senate version of the bill, on a particular one wealthy person, not hypothetically all wealthy people, but let's take one. You might have heard of him as Donald Trump. He would save more than $20 million personally, just himself, according to analysis of his 2005 tax return. And his heirs could potentially save $1.1 billion based on his reported wealth if this bill goes through. By the way, that's based on a reported wealth of $2.85 billion estimated idea of his wealth. He claims he has far more, and if that's true, they could save potentially billions of dollars.
And he's also 71 years old, and most of that savings comes from the fact that, according to the Senate bill, in 2024, the estate tax will be repealed, and that's where he gets his greatest savings on his wealth.
Exactly. It's an amazing system they've built up. I mean, thankfully, as you said, oh my God, now I'm blanking on the name of the senator who came against it. Ron Johnson is against it. I saw that Susan Collins, I believe, was sort of hesitant. I think Murkowski was sort of a little.
You never know with Rand Paul either on these things.
Exactly. Yeah, but he's a bizarre one. I read, maybe it's changed. He's the only senator who hasn't taken his endorsement away from Roy Moore. That's what I read.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I read that too. I did.
That's bizarre.
Not as bizarre as the thing that happened. Like, I'm sorry, you're going to make a point that's important. This is just silly, but it's not really so. Like, there's something missing still from that story with getting his ribs broken.
Oh yeah, with the Rand Paul story. Yeah,
there's more to it. There's more to it.
I don't remember what I was going to say, but I'm sure it was
the Rand Paul vote. When I said he's likely, we never know.
Oh yeah, right. He's the only person right now to come out against Roy Moore. But yeah, I mean, I was going to say about. And we don't, as John McCain said he'd support it?
No, we don't know about John McCain.
I don't know John McCain, just because I feel like there's a little bit of John McCain. It's, no, I'm going to wait until the last possible second on every bill I have left,
right.
and I'm going to vote against the president.
Right.
I just, as exciting
that's how this
as
is
it might
going to be.
Yeah. I don't want, I mean, with all the consequences in the immediate term and just the ripples that go out years and decades in the future from this bill, I don't want to be like sitting watching TV to see if he gives it the thumb down at the last second. Like,
there's going to be
too important.
I believe they're going to peel something off of this. They're going to find something that doesn't have to go through reconciliation, that they're going to be able to vote on before Thanksgiving, that gives them something to take home. I don't know what it's going to be. I think it's going to be, it might be a small, it might be a standalone, something the Senate through their rules can actually vote on and get done. Because
with Democratic support or
without Democrat, but with the Murkowskis of the world and the Collinses and
something that get 51 Republicans to back.
Because otherwise, this administration is on a legislative level
the worst
historically a failure, and that's as objective as I can be. I mean, we know that I cannot bear this man, but objectively speaking, legislatively, nothing. Everything's been by executive order.
Yeah,
it's astonishing. So they're going to have to, and that falls on the Congress too, because they're the next ones up. So they're going to have to come home with something.
If you like the Young Turks, you'll love Young Turks membership. TYTnetwork.com/join.